Ooh, this was an interesting one I saw. This was an interesting thing that I saw today. It was on Twitter. And it said, did you know you can put Bitcoin on a wallet and just hand that wallet over to somebody with the PIN as a form of payment with no taxes? Did you know that? You can put Bitcoin on a wallet and just hand that wallet over to somebody else with the PIN as a form of payment with no taxes. I mean, I don't know if that's an official like tax rule. I don't think that it is. Doesn't really make sense. Very much like cash in that way, where yes, I could just hand somebody $100,000 worth of cash and they probably won't pay taxes on it, but it's still not legal to do that. But point is you can do it. And the nice thing about that is doing it something like that, whether it's actually physically handing over a device to somebody or giving your 12 words to somebody else or giving somebody in your family your QR code and password for your super backed access. The nice thing about that is there's no transaction there. There's no on-chain transaction. So there's nobody would ever know that you no longer have that Bitcoin. So that's kind of cool. You can't do that with any other asset outside of like gold, silver, or cash. You can't hand an asset over to anybody. Well, of significant value anyways. I mean, you could give a fucking hockey card to somebody without anybody knowing. But like of significant value, Bitcoin you can do that with. And so, I mean, you should be thinking about things like that. You should be thinking about, when you leave this earth, when your time comes, where's your Bitcoin going to? Who's getting it? Is it your kid? Is it your dog? Is it your brother? Is it your wife, spouse, husband? Who's getting it? And do they know how to restore it? I honestly feel like 98% of Bitcoiners have no plan for this. Zero. And there's going to be a lot of Bitcoin that gets lost because of that. It's not factored in. It's not factored into lost coins yet. But the thing about that is when we look at like the ownership of Bitcoin, I think 5% is considered lost right now. I think 70% is owned by individuals. So it'll be moving between individual wallets to lost coins. So it's not going to have a huge impact, but they're never going to move then though. They're going to be out of circulation forever once they're lost. I'm sure we've already, come to that point with a lot of people. But here's the other part too. And this is something that actually happened last week to me. And somebody called me and said, I'm looking to move a sizable amount of Bitcoin into my own custody. I want to take self-custody of it because of a situation that happened with Coinbase recently. And so what happened on Coinbase was that this guy bought some Bitcoin for his dad. His dad was older, let's say 85 years old. And so his son bought some Bitcoin for him, did everything, created an account on Coinbase, put in his ID, did a little selfie thing probably with his dad. And then his dad passed away about a year later, just recently. And that's a problem. That's a big problem that he's going through right now because he's been trying to get a hold of Coinbase. Coinbase said, you need to send us all these documents verifying that he is indeed dead, that you are indeed his son. What a fucking headache that is. And the worst part is that after sending all these documents in, Coinbase basically just stopped talking to him. There's nowhere to phone Coinbase. They won't answer the chat or emails from him anymore. He's having a very difficult time contacting Coinbase. So basically what we're trying right now is to contact them via Twitter. Isn't that sad? That the only way to get a hold of like the biggest Bitcoin company on the planet is through Twitter, DMs, or mentioning Coinbase on Twitter. So these are the things that you need to be thinking about right now, because if you have any, so here's the difference, because like if this guy wouldn't have left his coins on Coinbase, none of this would be an issue. If he set his dad up and bought Bitcoin through Coinbase and then sent it to even like a wallet on his phone, there'd be zero issues now. But because they left it on the exchange and his father passed away, that Bitcoin's now locked up. So that's a very, I mean, and this is like a natural thing that happens if you're 85, 90 years old, you're, especially as a male, you're coming to the end here, as of now anyways, unless any crazy technology happens. But think about if you had somebody who had a bunch of Bitcoin on a Coinbase account, they got in a car accident. Let's say that I had half a Bitcoin on Coinbase because I didn't, I was getting ready to sell it, or didn't really trust myself to hold it yet, and I got hit by a bus tomorrow. Like, that Bitcoin's going to be there for a very long time, and Coinbase is going to be in zero rush to get that to your family. And you're going to have to get lawyers involved. You're going to have to get all these different people involved in the process here. It's going to be a massive headache. So if you are brand new to Bitcoin, I think that it is okay to leave your Bitcoin on exchange for a couple weeks, a couple months, while you kind of get your security in place, get a little bit of knowledge. But after that, get your Bitcoin off the exchanges, because you don't want to be in a situation like this. It's a nightmare. So you should be actively thinking about getting your Bitcoin off the exchange. I'm thinking most people who watch this show already have done that. But if you are somebody who's and this is the same for like a Bitcoin ETF with the stock exchange. I know it's a little bit, it'll probably be more accessible than Coinbase would be, but still, the nice thing about Bitcoin is you have the ability to do this without having a whole bunch of like bullshit involved, right? You get your Bitcoin, you get into your own self custody, and you share that 12 words or the ability to access that with somebody else. You don't need all that anymore. That's a very underappreciated part of Bitcoin. So you don't need that anymore.